Welcome back to the IELTS community. We're here to give you the shortcut, the deep dive into complex topics so you're really in the know. And today, wow, we're looking at something huge. It's more than just comparing two groups. It feels like we're watching a whole new chapter of work being written. Yeah, it's all about millennials and Gen Z and how their different paths are shaping, well, everything in the workplace. We're diving deep into their attitudes, their expectations, and we're grounding this whole conversation in insights from excerpts from Gen Z versus millennials, workplace attitudes redefined. So our mission really is to pull out the most vital bits from this source, the surprising stuff, the practical stuff. We want to give you a really clear picture of how these generations are changing the game and crucially, what it all means for you. Maybe you're a manager, maybe you're working alongside people from both generations, or maybe you're just figuring out your own career. This matters. Okay, so let's unpack this. To kick things off then, forget just the birth years for a second. What are the fundamental experiences that really forge these different outlooks?
Why do they approach work so differently?
It's a great question, and honestly, the core differences really do seem to come straight from their formative experiences. It's quite stark when you look at it. So, take millennials, right?
Yeah.
Born roughly 81 to 96. They were kind of the digital pioneers. They saw the internet arrive. They adapted to smartphones, social media.
Yeah, they remember a before.
Exactly. A world before constant connection. And often, their younger years coincided with, well, relative economic stability. That combination tended to foster a pretty optimistic, even idealistic view of their careers. A belief in progress, making an impact.
Okay, so discovering the digital world as it happened, plus that relative stability, leads to idealism.
Yeah.
But Gen Z, totally different story, right? They were born into the tech.
Absolutely. Gen Z, we're talking 97 to 2012, they are true digital natives. For them, there's never been a world without the internet, without social media just being there. Always on. But here's the critical part. They were also raised right in the shadow of the Great Recession. That economic instability was like the backdrop to their childhood and teen years.
Well, a very different backdrop.
Huge difference. That plus this constant awareness of things like student debt, a tougher job market, it really shaped them. It made them much more pragmatic, analytical, and definitely more risk-averse when it comes to careers.
Wow, that paints a really clear picture. So millennials marching in with idealism, looking for the dream job maybe, and Gen Z arriving thinking, okay, how do I build security?
Yeah.
Because of what they saw growing up. It's like wisdom learned the hard way.
That's a great way to put it. And yeah, it flows directly into how they approach work. Millennials often talked about wanting a calling, a job with deep meaning, a chance to make a difference, find purpose. Even their focus on work-life balance, which was pretty revolutionary at the time, was kind of a pushback, a rejection of that live-to-work grind they might have seen. It was about fitting work into life, not the other way around.
Okay, so here's where it gets really interesting for me. That contrast you mentioned, idealistic versus pragmatic, how does that actually play out day to day? When they're in a job, what are they really looking for? Is purpose even the same thing for both?
Yeah, that's key. It often isn't the same thing at all. For many millennials, the company's mission, its social impact, that feeling of being part of something bigger, it's often a huge motivator.
Right.
They really push this idea that work needs to provide meaning, align with your values. They want to feel like the work itself, matters.
So you could see a millennial maybe taking a lower salary at a nonprofit, for example, or a company with a really strong ethical stance because that purpose, that alignment, is paramount.
Exactly. That's a classic millennial calculus, you could say. Now, for Gen Z, look, it's not that the mission doesn't matter at all, but it often takes a backseat to more tangible things. Financial security, job stability, these are usually top priorities. A competitive salary isn't just nice to have, it's often essential. They want a clear path for advancement, real opportunities for growth.
So less about the abstract dream job and more about building a solid foundation.
Precisely. It's much more about constructing a secure, sustainable career. So if you show a Gen Z individual a clear salary progression chart or offer training that demonstrably boosts their skills and market value, that can be way more compelling than, say, a vague mission statement.
That's fascinating. It's like millennials sought purpose, hoping stability would follow, whereas Gen Z seems to be building the stable base first, maybe then looking for purpose from that secure footing. It's like they're building their career house from the foundation up, not the roof down.
That's a fantastic analogy. It's a very practical approach, and it's a direct result of the economic world they grew up in. You can't discount that lived experience.
Okay, so what they want is different. What about how? how they actually, get the work done. Does this spill over into their daily habits, office preferences, how they even talk to colleagues?
Oh, absolutely. Big differences there, too. Let's talk work ethic. Or maybe work style. Millennials, generally speaking, became known for being quite collaborative. They often liked open plan offices, environments where ideas could just bounce around freely.
Yeah, I remember the rise of the open office coinciding exactly with millennials entering the workforce in large numbers. It was all about tearing down walls, literally.
Right, brainstorming sessions, team projects, the collective was often seen as really important. But Gen Z, they often seem to value independence more, a more results-driven approach. In fact, a 2024 study pointed this out. A significant number of Gen Z folks actually said they prefer a private office. They're often very comfortable as individual contributors, judged on their own merit.
Interesting. Not necessarily antisocial, but maybe more focused.
Exactly. Give them clear individual goals and they tend to thrive. It's less about constant group interaction and maybe more about focused work where their specific contribution is clear. That open office, which millennials saw as collaborative, a Gen Z worker might just see it as noise, distraction.
That's a crucial point for managers. It's not about never collaborating, but maybe needing dedicated space and recognition for individual output and communication styles.
Also distinct, millennials really help normalize things like email and later Slack. Asynchronous communication for, sending a message now, getting a reply later. It allows flexibility.
Makes sense. But Gen Z, being digital natives,
They naturally lean towards quicker, more direct digital messages. Think short, sharp, like a text or a quick Slack ping. Get to the point fast.
okay, fast and clear digitally.
Yes, but, and this is really interesting, despite that digital fluency, many in Gen Z also really value real-time direct feedback. And for important stuff, they often prefer face-to-face.
Huh. So, quick text for updates, but a real conversation for feedback or big decisions.
Seems that way. They want directness, clarity, no beating around the bush. It sounds like a paradox, but maybe it's about authenticity. In a world full of digital noise, maybe they crave that unvarnished human connection for things that really impact their growth. Speed for the simple stuff, depth for the important stuff.
That really clarifies it. So, for anyone listening who manages a mixed team, it's about finding that balance. Spaces for collaboration, but also spaces for focus. Using quick digital tools, but also making time for those direct, maybe even in-person, crucial conversations. Flexibility is key.
That's exactly the practical takeaway. You need to adapt your structures, your channels, to really engage both groups in ways that resonate with them.
Okay, we've covered their outlook, their daily work styles. Let's zoom out a bit. What about the long game? Loyalty, commitment to a company, their career paths. We hear a lot about job hopping. Does that apply equally?
Well, job hopping, frequently changing jobs, maybe every couple of years, often for faster promotions or better pay, that label definitely got attached more strongly to millennials.
Right, I've heard that stereotype a lot.
And there's some truth to it. They were often driven by wanting rapid advancement. If they didn't feel challenged or valued, or if that sense of purpose wasn't there, they were often more likely to look elsewhere rather than just, stick it out. Feeling stagnant was a big trigger to explore new options.
Which fits with their idealistic, purpose-driven nature we talked about. Okay, so what about Gen Z? Are they following that same pattern?
Actually, no. And this surprises some people. Gen Z seems to show a stronger preference for stability. They appear more likely to commit to a company for longer, but there's a big condition.
Ah, okay. What's the condition?
The company has to offer a clear path for developing their skills and for personal growth. They really value continuous learning. They almost expect employers to invest in their training to help them keep their skills current and marketable.
So it's not loyalty for loyalty's sake. It's loyalty in exchange for tangible investment in their future skill set, like a practical defense against future uncertainty.
You've hit it exactly. Given the economic volatility they witnessed, constantly upgrading their skills feels like the best job security there is. So an employer isn't just offering a paycheck. They're offering, ideally, a way to stay relevant and resilient in the market.
That is a massive insight for anyone in HR or leadership listening right now. Your retention strategy needs to look different. For Gen Z, it's about clearly showing them that growth path inside the company. So how do companies actually do that? How do they create an environment that satisfies both the millennial need for purpose and the Gen Z need for skills and stability? Seems tricky.
It is a balancing act, no doubt. For Gen Z, it means things like really robust internal training programs, clear mentorship paths, transparent career ladders, showing that tangible investment. For millennials, it's making sure their roles offer real purpose, consistent challenges, and that their impact is genuinely recognized in a way that connects with their values. It's about meeting different but equally valid needs.
Okay, let's try and bring this all together then. We've covered a lot of ground, a lot of differences. What's the big picture takeaway for us today?
Well, I think the main thing is this shift from millennials to Gen Z. It's not just one group getting older and another taking over. It really feels like a fundamental rethink of what a successful, fulfilling career even looks like now. The core distinction we keep coming back to is that idealism and purpose drive of millennials versus the deep-seated pragmatism and security focus of Gen Z.
And that Gen Z pragmatism
Yeah.
feels like it's going to keep pushing changes in the workplace, right?
Yeah.
Challenging some of those millennial norms about, say, open offices or maybe prioritizing mission over salary sometimes.
Absolutely. And understanding these differences isn't just, nice to know. It's really become crucial for any employer trying to build an effective workforce with multiple generations. The aim shouldn't be to force everyone into one mold, or worse, create divides. It's about building an inclusive place that genuinely respects both mindsets, harnessing the collaborative energy of millennials and the independent, results-focused drive of Gen Z. That's where the real potential for innovation and success lies. But it does raise a really important question, I think, for everyone listening. How do you actually integrate these very different needs in your own workplace? How do you do it without making one group feel favored or creating resentment, making sure both feel valued, engaged, and that their unique strengths are really being used? It's a challenge, definitely, but maybe a huge opportunity too.
That's a perfect point to reflect on. It really shows that understanding this isn't just theory. It's vital for actually navigating work today. We really hope this deep dive on the IELTS community has been helpful, giving you some tools to navigate and hopefully thrive in this ever-changing professional world.
And maybe just one final thought to leave you with. Take a look at your own workplace culture. What parts of it do you think really connect with that millennial mindset? And perhaps more importantly now, what might need tweaking or adjusting to better align with Gen Z's expectations and their very different vision for a career?
Great food for thought. Until next time, keep learning, keep connecting, and keep exploring these dynamics.